You think you're just being careful. Double-checking things. Explaining yourself a bit too much. Keeping your space spotless. Just being responsible. Right? But what if I told you? Those habits aren't just quirks? They're grief. They're fear. They're trauma, in disguise. If you've ever been in a narcissistic relationship, chances are, you've picked up a few behaviors to survive. Some of them are loud, like anxiety or panic. But others? They're quiet, subtle, and often mistaken as personality. You don't even notice them. But they're running the show, keeping you stuck in survival mode long after the narcissist is gone. These habits are the echoes of manipulation, gaslighting, walking on eggshells. They were once useful. They kept you safe. But now? They might be keeping you stuck. In this video, we're going to uncover 7 strange, sneaky habits that many survivors of narcissistic abuse carry, often without realizing it. We'll talk about what they look like, why they show up, and, most importantly, how you can start letting them go. Because these habits? They are not who you are. They are who you had to be. Are you ready to take your power back? Let's start with number 1. Excessive caretaking. And why trying to keep the peace might be keeping you in pieces. You bring them coffee before they ask. You rearrange your schedule without thinking. You say yes before checking how you feel. It looks like kindness. But under the surface, it's excessive caretaking. If you've survived narcissistic abuse, you may have learned that keeping others happy is the only way to stay safe. Psychologists call this a trauma response, specifically, fawning. It means appeasing others to avoid conflict or harm. And for many survivors, it starts subtly and becomes a lifestyle. You weren't taught to ask, "What do I need?" You were taught to scan the room, read moods, prevent explosions. You became an emotional manager. Not because you wanted control, but because it was the only way to feel less afraid. Over time, caretaking stops being a choice. It becomes autopilot. And here's the twist. Even after the narcissist is gone, you might still find yourself playing that role. At work. In friendships. Even in new relationships. Why? Because part of you still believes, if I can just keep everyone happy, I won't be hurt again. Comment peacekeeper if you've ever found yourself taking care of everyone else, but forgetting yourself. Let's be clear. Care isn't the problem. Self-abandonment is. You deserve reciprocity. You deserve care that flows both ways. Not just relationships that survive on your emotional labor. You don't need to earn safety by erasing yourself. Coming up next. Why overcommunicating might feel like connection, but could be a leftover survival script. Stay with me. This is where we start untangling the deeper patterns. You send a long message. Then another. Then a follow-up, just to make sure it wasn't misunderstood. You explain every detail. Just in case. It feels responsible. Even polite. But sometimes, overcommunicating isn't about being clear. It's about feeling safe. If you've been through narcissistic abuse, you probably spent a lot of time trying to avoid conflict. Trying to be understood. Because being misunderstood felt dangerous. You explained yourself. Not because you were wrong, but because silence got punished. This isn't about good communication. It's about people-pleasing dressed up as explanation. If I explain it the right way, maybe they won't be mad. If I say it nicely enough, maybe they'll believe me. If I get ahead of the misunderstanding, maybe I won't get blamed. But here's the hard truth. To a narcissist, it doesn't matter how much you explain. They'll twist your words anyway. And worse. Even after they're gone, this habit lingers. You might find yourself over-explaining at work. Apologizing too much to friends. clarifying things that didn't need clarification. Comment explainer if you've ever caught yourself saying too much, just to feel okay. You're not doing anything wrong. You're just used to defending your right to exist. But you don't owe anyone that much proof. You're allowed to speak, without performing. You're allowed to be misunderstood, and still be whole. Let your words be bridges, not auditions. Next, we'll talk about when silence isn't golden. It's just another trauma imprint. Stay with me. Because stillness can be just as loud. You sit there. Quiet. Not because you're calm. But because saying the wrong thing might start something you can't stop. If you've lived through narcissistic abuse, you might know this silence all too well. Not the peaceful kind. The protective kind. The kind that wraps around you like a shield. Because speaking feels risky. This isn't being quiet. It's trauma shut down. Your nervous system learned. If I don't move, if I don't speak, maybe I won't be hurt. You learn to disappear in plain sight. Candle, but here's what no one tells you. That silence can follow you. Even long after the narcissist is gone. In new relationships. At your job. With people who aren't even a threat. You still find yourself shrinking. Replaying conversations in your head. Writing and rewriting texts before sending. Or saying nothing at all. Because your brain still thinks silence equals safety. Comment silent mode if you've ever found yourself quiet not out of peace, but out of fear. This kind of silence isn't your fault. It's your body remembering. But you don't live in that danger anymore. And slowly, your voice can come back. Start in safe spaces. Say one thing you're used to keeping in. Whisper it if you need to. Let it be messy. Let it be real. Because silence protected you. But it doesn't have to define you. Coming up next. Why checking the doors 3 times isn't about security. It's about the hypervigilance your trauma wired into you. Stay with me. Your body's not broken, it's remembering. You check the lock. Once. Twice. Sometimes 3 times. Even though you know it's locked. You tell yourself it's just caution. Just a routine. But what if it's not about the door? If you've been through narcissistic abuse, you've lived in a space where things could turn at any moment. Where emotional explosions came without warning. And in that kind of environment, your brain learns to stay ready. This is what psychologists call hypervigilance. A trauma response where your nervous system stays on alert. Even when the threat is gone. Checking the doors. Scanning the room. Sitting close to exits. They're not habits. They're survival mechanisms. Your body remembers what it was like to feel unsafe in your own home. So now, it tries to control the only thing it can. Access. You're not paranoid. You're patterned. And those patterns came from pain. Comment locked loop if you've ever caught yourself checking out of fear, not just safety. The good news? This can change. Start by noticing the urge. Say, "Thank you, body, for trying to protect me. But I'm safe now." Because safety isn't just locked doors. It's internal peace. And you're allowed to feel that again. Coming up next. What if the survival strategy you picked up was becoming like them? Let's talk about how we mirror narcissistic behavior, without even realizing it. You snap back in an argument. Your tone gets sharp. You say something that sounds too familiar. And you pause. Because for a split second, you sounded just like them. If you've lived through narcissistic abuse, this might feel like the most confusing part of healing. You spent so long navigating their moods, anticipating their reactions, adapting to their chaos. That part of you started to mirror them. It wasn't conscious. It was a survival mechanism. Psychologists call this identification with the aggressor. It's what happens when you absorb someone's behavior to avoid being hurt by it. If you act like them, they might not turn on you. If you become sharp, you might stop feeling weak. It's not that you wanted to become them. You just wanted to survive. But here's the catch. Even after the relationship ends, these patterns can linger. You might find yourself mimicking their sarcasm, becoming critical in conflict, building walls where softness used to live. Comment mirror effect if you've ever caught yourself becoming who you never wanted to be. This doesn't make you toxic. It makes you human. A human who adapted to dysfunction. And the good news? What was learned can be unlearned. You don't need to carry their traits to carry your power. You can drop the armor and still be strong. You are not them. And you never were. Coming up next. Why overcleaning your home might be less about neatness and more about desperately trying to restore control. Stay with me. The pattern's clearer than you think. You clean until your back aches. You organize the spice rack. You scrub corners no one will ever see. It feels like control. But for many survivors of narcissistic abuse, overcleaning isn't about cleanliness. It's about creating order in the aftermath of chaos. When you've lived in a home filled with tension, volatility, or criticism, your brain starts to associate tidiness with safety. If the house is spotless, maybe they won't yell. If everything's in place, maybe nothing will explode. It's not about loving to clean. It's about managing trauma through control. Cleaning becomes your ritual. Your grounding. Your way of saying, something is in my control. But here's where it gets tricky. Even after they're gone, your body might still seek that control. You find yourself unable to relax unless everything is perfect. You get anxious when things feel out of place. Not because you're picky, but because mess once meant danger. Comment tidy trap if you've ever cleaned not to feel good, but to stop feeling overwhelmed. This pattern doesn't make you obsessive. It means your nervous system is still protecting you the only way it knows how. But peace doesn't require perfection. You can rest, even if the dishes wait. You can breathe, even if the floors aren't shining. Your worth was never measured by how well you held it all together. Up next. Why a simple knock at the door still makes your heart race. And how trauma wires your body to fear what's just outside. Stay with me. It's not paranoia. It's patterning, and we're learning how to release it. A knock at the door. That sound shouldn't mean anything. But your heart jumps. Your breath shortens. You freeze. If this happens to you, you're not alone. After narcissistic abuse, even something as normal as a knock can feel like danger. Your nervous system has learned. Unexpected equals unsafe. Maybe knocks once came before arguments. Or before someone barged in with criticism, control, or chaos. And even now, long after the threat is gone, your body still reacts like it's about to happen again. This isn't paranoia. It's hyperarousal, a trauma response where your senses stay heightened. Ready for harm that might not be real, but once was. And the knock? It's not just a sound. It's a symbol. A reminder that you once lived waiting for something, or someone, to hurt you. Comment still jumpy if you've ever reacted to small sounds like they were a big threat. The truth is, healing your nervous system takes time. But it is possible. You can retrain your body to believe. A knock doesn't mean danger anymore. I am safe now. Try this. When you hear a sound that startles you, pause. Touch something grounded, a wall, your chest, your chair. Breathe. Remind yourself, this is now. That was then. The past trained your reflexes. But you can rewrite your responses. Coming next. Let's step back and reframe the 7 strange habits you've carried. Not as flaws, but as proof of your strength. Stay with me. This is where the healing perspective shifts. You clean too much. You explain too much. You stay quiet. You jump at the smallest noise. And maybe, somewhere along the way, you started believing something was wrong with you. But what if these weren't signs of damage? What if they were signs of brilliance? If you've been through narcissistic abuse, every one of these strange habits was a survival intelligence. You cared too much? That was empathy overdrive, because reading emotions kept you safe. You overexplained? That was strategic, because silence once meant punishment. You froze when someone knocked? That was vigilance, because your nervous system knew what pain might follow. You weren't broken. You were adaptive. These weren't random quirks. They were your body's way of saying, "I'll do anything to keep us alive." Comment adaptive, not broken, if you've just realized you've been surviving with brilliance, not shame. This moment of clarity matters. Because now, you don't need to judge those habits. You can just meet them with understanding. And from there, you can start choosing differently. Not because you hate those old patterns, but because you don't need them anymore. This is what healing looks like. Not fixing. Not forcing. But understanding, and gently shifting. Up next. How do we start letting go of these survival habits? Without rushing the healing or blaming ourselves for going slow? Stay with me. Let's talk about soft unlearning. You've named the patterns. You've seen the survival strategies. Now what? Do you rip them out at the root? Force yourself to stop flinching, over-explaining, people-pleasing? Not at all. If these habits were built for survival, then they deserve to be unlearned with the same gentleness they were formed in. This is not a battle. It's a process. Unlearning trauma patterns isn't about urgency. It's about soft repetition. Tiny shifts. Consistent safety. Think of it this way. You lived for years, or decades, under rules that said, stay small. Be perfect. Keep them happy, or else. So don't expect your body to rewrite that in a week. Instead, try this. When you catch yourself caretaking, pause. Breathe. Ask, do I want to, or do I feel I have to? When you're about to over-explain, try saying less. Then sit with the silence. Let it be safe. When you jump at a noise, touch something near you. Feel the now. Remind your body, this isn't then. Comment one small shift if you're choosing to heal slowly, with softness, not shame. You are not lazy for needing time. You are not failing for still reacting. You are healing. And healing honors your pace. Coming up next. A simple, powerful daily grounding ritual. To help you stay anchored when the patterns try to take over. Let's build something steady you can return to, day by day. Healing isn't just what you understand. It's what you practice, especially when your body forgets it's safe. When your nervous system has lived in high alert for too long. It needs more than insight. It needs rhythm. Repetition. A ritual to return to. This is your invitation to one. A daily grounding practice that takes just 3 to 5 minutes. Simple, soft, and steady. Try this. Find stillness. Sit or stand. Feel your feet on the ground. Touch something real. Your palm. A stone. A cup. The floor beneath you. Inhale slowly through your nose. Count to 4. Exhale even slower through your mouth. Count to 6. Whisper to yourself. This is now. I am safe. I don't have to earn peace, I can return to it. Repeat this when your mind spirals. When your heart races. When old patterns try to pull you back. This is not about becoming zen. It's about giving your body proof, daily, that it's no longer trapped in survival. Comment daily return if you're ready to make safety a habit, not a coincidence. The more you return to calm on purpose, the easier it becomes to stay there. And every time you do this, you rewrite the story your nervous system has been telling itself. I'm not in danger anymore. I'm home. In me. Coming up next, let's close this with gentleness and talk about why you don't need their closure to finally trust your own. Stay close. This is where it lands softly. They never said sorry. They probably never will. And somehow, you're still here. Still breathing. Still healing. Still rebuilding. This is final closure. Not because they gave it to you, but because you chose it for yourself. See, closure was never about the perfect apology. It was about no longer needing one to move forward. You've been carrying their silence like a weight. Their absence like a question. Their lack of accountability like a wound left open. But here's the truth. You don't need their words to validate your pain. You lived it. You survived it. You're allowed to honor it, without their permission. Comment I close it if you're ready to end the story on your terms. Because this isn't about forgiving them. It's about freeing you. It's about looking at all the versions of yourself that kept going. Even without answers. Even through the grief. Even with the confusion. And whispering. You were right. You mattered. I believe you. That's your closure. Not a conversation. Not a confrontation. Just a reclamation of you. You don't need the door to close gently. You just need to walk away with clarity. Because you're not unfinished. You're unfolding. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for honoring your story. And thank you for choosing your own peace. Until next time, remember. You don't have to decode them. You only need to trust your own clarity. Unmasking personality.